power of love, the power of love. Come and listen to the stories that change the way that you see, the things that you hear will help you to feel empowered every day.
Hello and welcome to The Power of Love, exploring the most powerful force on earth. I love that. I just love love. I'm your host, Mia Saenz, and our guest today is Denise Kavaliauskas. And I've talked with Denise, worked with Denise, known Denise for, probably not 10 years, but maybe 8. And it's been a really beautiful experience because Denise talks about love and self-love in a really beautiful way. Her work also is very powerful because she focuses her work on supporting women getting out of narcissistic relationships, healing from them, even divorcing through that, which I think is really important. Would you like to add anything to that, Denise?
I think you covered it. I just get great joy out of helping women and men leave the toxic love behind and move into a beautiful love.
Yeah, beautiful. So today's focus is going to be on self-love, which is really a powerful topic overall. We all know that it's an inside job, but there's so many beautiful ways to learn to love yourself and accept yourself. Share with us about toxic relationships and how people get into those because they have a lack of their own self-love.
Yeah, that's a great question, Mia, because I know through my own experience and now being out of it for going on 11 years, I can see the person that I was when I was before in that relationship, out of that relationship. And I know for a fact that there was a huge lack of self-love when I was in that relationship. And that's why I didn't have boundaries. That's why I was a people pleaser. That's why I allowed the abuse to happen time and time and time again. And then this was the journey, and I'm still learning to love myself. I'm learning to really love my body for what it is and the brilliant, amazing, smart body that I have. So it's such a beautiful journey to go through this. So in that relationship, I can see now looking back of the person that I was who didn't believe in herself, didn't love herself, didn't even know what that was. And one of the key things that I want your audience to hear is that is not who we are to our core. We do love ourselves. Think of a baby. I always use this example because it's so beautiful. Think of a baby. A baby doesn't come into the world going, I have hair sticking up, I hate myself, or I'm holding a grudge against you, Mom, because you're in labor for 48 hours. No.
Yeah.
Babies come in and they're literally obsessed with their bodies. They love themselves. They look at themselves in the mirror and they make kissing gestures. We learned, this is a learned behavior of how not to love ourselves and put up with abuse. And then so if it's a learned behavior, we can unlearn it and get back to the roots of who we are. And that is loving ourselves.
I was thinking as you were sharing that beautiful image, how sad it is for all of us, right? We're not pointing fingers here. There's no judgment of any kind whatsoever saying this, but how sad that as a survival mode, we had to darken our light, right? Mm-hmm. I know I did growing up. I had to darken my light so my mom wouldn't see me, so that I wouldn't be picked out to be picked on, more or less. Mm-hmm. And so it's a thing that most people experience. And so in your experience, what makes someone attracted to a narcissist?
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a good one, isn't it? It just popped into my pretty little head.
Well, then it's meant to be shared. Okay, this is so good. So it's more of an energetic attraction versus physical attraction. Because when you look at the narcissist and the energy of a narcissist, it's a taking energy. Take, right? Take your time, take your soul. I take the attention, take. And narcissistic people seek out energetically a giving energy,
Mhm.
right? Those are the people pleasers. Those are the ones who they're wounded themselves, right? And so they're trying to prove themselves. And so there's this taking and giving. And it's, I call it the mother energy is the giving energy, and the child energy is the narcissist. And there's no balance in it. There's only taking, there's only giving. There's no balance in it. Where, as you know, in a healthy relationship, there's a beautiful balance of giving and receiving. So it's not taken, it's receiving, it changes.
Mhm.
So it's an energetic attraction.
Yeah.
And they know who to seek out, they know who to approach, they know.
And
Narcissist.
also, I'm thinking there's a difference, everyone, between the light or that sunshine that the narcissistic brings, as opposed to somebody who's balanced. It may seem similar at first, like the wow, right? Like if somebody is an exuberant person, but they're very balanced in giving and receiving and all of that, that's going to be a phenomenal energy, just as apparently we've all heard and you've experienced narcissists produce an energy that makes you attracted to them, because at first they pour the light on you so that you'll come their way, and then it shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a vacuum.
Come back out of the vacuum, everybody. So let's take this even further into self-love, and what I can't read my own writing. I love it. Take us out of there and into a healthy relationship. Share with us what that would look like.
Oh, well, a healthy relationship, there's the mother energy has graduated into woman energy, as I call it. And if I was to put woman energy in a nutshell, she's got her shit together in all areas of her life, right? Like she does have the boundaries for certain people, like, and the boundaries start within herself. Like we have to have those boundaries within ourselves in order to expect anybody to respect our boundaries. And she's just constantly working on herself, woman energy, because she knows that that's what's going to take her to the highest level of her being her. One of the key components of me having a healthy relationship now with my husband is loving myself, and keep working on loving myself, and having grace or forgiving myself when I do quirky things or when I screw up or whatever, and not complaining, but not self-sabotaging. What is the word, Mia?
I'm just looking at how beautiful you look. I'm still focusing on that.
Beating ourselves up, right?
Yeah, beating ourselves up.
Beating ourselves up, which is the opposite of self-love, right? But this is what we do before we go on our self-love discovery. The negative self-talk, beating ourselves up. When you're in a healthy relationship and you're working on yourself and you're loving yourself more and more and more every single day, I know for me, when I screw up or whatever, there's no more, days or hours of beating myself up. It's like, the hair is blonde for a reason. Okay. That's what I say anyway.
You're also a natural blonde though, or blonde tones.
Well, when I was a baby, yeah, and then it got dark.
And honesty is part of self-love too, and loving and laughing. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And that aspect where we allow things in, right? Like where you said, beat yourself up, that literally is from abusive behavior when you're young. What I've noticed, speaking on energy levels, let's talk a little bit about how, and I'm not talking about a narcissist now, I'm talking about everybody in general. We're used to being treated a specific way throughout our early years of life, which we take into our older years, which we take into our older and older and older and grown-up years. And so what you accept, literally, when you look at it, what you accept is how you're going to live your life. Absolutely. And I know that those words are very harsh, right? What are some ways, like some tools, could be journaling or whatever, what would you suggest to somebody to even start to recognize who they are, what they want in their life, and what their past story, so to speak, was. When I say past story, you may still be in it, but you want to be out of it. So what would that look like to have a story, how to shift out of it? Can you share some tools?
Yeah, absolutely. And journaling is so powerful. I think it's a word that's used a lot. And so maybe some people bypass it as being as powerful as it is, but literally pen to paper, all the exercise I give to my clients is that. I'm like, put pen to paper and write it out. Because what it does is it releases whatever's going on in here out of your body. And also, when we put pen to paper, like sometimes I've put pen to paper and I don't know what's going to come out. I'm just going to explore and say, this is what I want, or this is what I don't want. And a great exercise that I teach, that I would love to share is your audience can just take a piece of paper and fold it down the middle, like so. Because I talk to a lot of women, Mia, and you know this too, like they don't know what they want because they haven't had it for so long. So they're like, when I say, what do you want? They keep going into the complaining mode of this is happening and that's happening. And I'm like, but what do you want? So a great exercise is you can put do's and don'ts. And if you don't know what you want, you could start with the don'ts. I don't want people treating me like X, Y, and Z. Well, then you can counteract that over on the do. Because now you have clarity of what you do want, and clarity is power. Because when it comes to manifesting in the universe and all that good juju, we've got to be crystal clear on what we're asking for, what we want in order for it to come to us. But if we're like wishy-washy on the fence and, like in the past, the way I was when I was coming out of my toxic relationship, I was like, I don't want, men to, be like my ex. But then every time a nice guy came to me, I was like, ooh, that's weird. I'm not used to being treated like, you can open the door for me. I can open my own door. So this is a great way to do, if you don't know what you do want, you could list what you don't want. And then on the opposite side, counteract it with what you do want. And then that gives you a crystal clear picture of what you do want, what you're asking for.
What's so funny about the doors? I'm sorry, I have to laugh because the whole door thing to me is super funny and it's educational in itself, because like I stand there and expect the door to be open. I'm not talking about with strangers, but with my family, the men in my family, my kids were taught, you open the door. My kids at 5 would open the door for other people, and men would go, oh, no, you go. And my oldest son would be like, no, you go. And so I've had women who have talked about nobody will open the door for them, or people at the gym will stare at them. And so they write these stories that are so untrue, that they're not worthy, that they're not worth somebody actually opening the door. And when you look at that energy of just the door, right? It's how you react to everything in life. And it's also metaphorical for opening up. This is an inside job. We have to open up. Yeah. I love that you brought that. There's no mistakes, especially when you and I get on topics and we start talking like we did in our Awakening Global series that we did. Super powerful, just a little idea of opening the door. And it's funny, you're like, I don't need you to open my damn door. I think that's hysterical, because of course you don't need it, but do you want it, right? I mean, these are things that we don't even know ourselves, that we don't know until we focus. Some people might say, well, I'd like the gentler side maybe of life, and somebody to actually open the door for me. What would that feel like? It's the same thing with expecting and not expecting. It's not that you're expecting flowers, but what if you opened up your life to be a receiver of flowers, right? Yeah.
I was just going to say, having somebody open the door is exactly that. You're receiving somebody being kind. And even here's the thing, like when you get to this level of healing, I was just thinking of this the other day, even if somebody's opening the door just because, hey, oh, me, like, look at me, who cares? You open the door, you just walk through, you know what I mean? Like so the ego is always trying to, he's being a this and that, and don't
Mhm.
let him, and that, screw it. He opened the door, I'm walking through.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, it's love is about being kind, right? It's not about being walked on, but it's about
Right,
how would you like to be treated? So even a little thank you to somebody, even if they're being an idiot, you can smile and
right.
say thanks, you know?
Yeah,
It's how do you want to be? When we brought up the idea of the toxic relationship and the lack of self-love and not having that as an experience, we have to experience, and that's one reason why we share stories with you guys, is so that you can learn through an experiential experience what something is like without having to live through, like Denise's experience, where she literally, if you're one of her clients, that she, literally hit the road and disappeared. And so it's an experience that she took you through, in that sharing of that story. You got the juice out of it without having to, which is kind of cool, without having to actually experience it. This is how our world used to be. We used to share stories, we used to bring things. So I really love this. The idea of training ourselves in self-love and
yeah.
expectancy of good is an incredible receivership as well. Do you want to talk about that? Let's talk about how these practices make proficiency, right? It changes our subconscious, it builds new neural pathways, we
Yeah.
set new patterns. Our subconscious, I'm here, I keep talking. Our subconscious literally communicates with our conscious, and that's what becomes us. So let's
Right.
talk about that.
Yeah.
You
Now,
saw I got so
always say
excited
that
about that.
practice, 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 right? Somebody just posted right before I got on this call something about, it was a little joke of a German Shepherd. And it's like, when you don't know how to receive a compliment, and the German Shepherd dog bites the rose. And I had to comment on that, because women were starting to go, oh, I can relate, and this and that. And had to comment and say, I used to be like that too. I would be awkward if somebody complimented me. I didn't know how to receive a compliment, right? The way that I would handle a compliment, oh, Denise, you look so beautiful. Oh, you do, right? I would immediately throw it back at the other person. No, you look beautiful. And let's ignore me. Let's ignore that I just got a compliment, and
Right.
put it onto the other person and let that person shine, because I'm going to stay over here hiding, energetically hiding, and not wanting to be seen, and not receiving a compliment from somebody. And it took practice to say, thank you.
Yes, and sit with that. See how that feels, to absorb that. You just gave away what. So we have different things in the world that are like one of the things that you've got to know. So as you grow and evolve, which is what you're all doing, what we're all doing, is when somebody, I love that you said that, because when somebody does that and throws it back on you, and you're an experienced individual in the world, you recognize that they can't receive, right?
Right.
And so you're not gifting them anything by saying, oh no, you're beautiful. You've got to stop and absorb the compliment. That's
Yeah.
where the true self-love is within that space of receiving that. And even
Right.
maybe feeling it, just stop to feel, how does that feel?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, and we don't know how to receive, the art of
Yeah.
receiving, until we dig into it,
Yeah.
literally.
Learn. It's a learned behavior. We learned how not to receive. So we can unlearn that behavior and start to receive again. And I don't know who explained it so well, but they shared it in this way. They say, when you give somebody a gift, right? You thought out this gift, and you really want them to receive this gift. You're doing it because it's going to put a smile on their face. It's going to make them happy. So when you give somebody a gift, if someone was to say, no, I can't take that, you take that, or donate it, or whatever, how does that make the other individual who's giving the compliment or giving the gift feel? You're hurting them. So, and this is all the underlying stuff that nobody talks about, right?
Right.
This is the
Right.
stuff that is so, just bypass it. But think of the other person and how they feel that they were thoughtful enough to give you this gift and you essentially rejected it by not receiving it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a practice.
It
Say thank
really
you.
it really is a practice. And when you show it like that, it sort of makes you go, oh, ow, ooh. Well, that's
Mhm.
how most people feel when they receive, right? Until
Mhm.
they learn the graces of receiving. I think that as you learn to receive, also continue to give in the
Yes.
same beautiful way and maybe get more creative with it. You know,
Mhm.
my girlfriends that are local, I will do everything to plan, you know, like if they're coming over for dinner or whatever. One girlfriend, we went to a hotel one night just to have a whole 24 hours, you know, to be in each
Nice.
other's space. And, you know, it was a sister bonding thing. And I lit the whole room up with little tea lights, and I hung some fairies, and I put butterflies on the wall that were 3D. And she came in and cried because it moved her so much. And
Oh.
she had said to me, Mia, I have grown so much on receiving. This might have made me feel uncomfortable at first, but I
Right.
love it. It's just too amazing. And so
Yeah.
that's something too I've learned is maybe I go a little bit overboard with, you know, creating magic for my friends, but I also know that they'll receive it in the way in which it was intended.
Intended.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so everybody,
It's a
who are
beautiful
your
exchange.
who are your 5 closest people? How do you interact with them? How do you receive? How do you give?
Mhm.
And you may not be with your 5 people that you actually want to be with. You may be just there because they're there. So take
Mhm.
intention in your life and create your people, create your own magic, and
Yes.
create it within yourself.
Yeah. That's huge right there. Because
Yeah.
that's a whole nother topic, Mia. That's a whole family and people you grew up with topic that would be another interview.
Yeah. And but what's interesting is you can choose family over friends. And I don't mean, you know,
Absolutely.
screw your family. I just mean who you choose in your life and want to love becomes your family, becomes your importance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
beautiful.
The journey of self-love, it has everything to do with family. When you can look at your family, because they chose not to grow,
Mhm.
totally okay. But you can, like, every time I spend time with my dad, I'm like, whoa, I used to think that way.
Yeah.
And love them. I still go see him. I love him. He's my dad. I still talk to my mom. I still love them, but I see them and their wounds that they got from growing up from their parents and how they unintentionally passed it on because they tried to do the best they could with us,
Right.
unintentionally passed it on. And then we as children took on those wounds and then carried them. And then there was a choice. There's always a choice. Am I going to choose to keep these or am I going to choose to heal them? It's all
Yeah.
a choice.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I would have expected you to say after I ask you this. What would you like to leave the audience with? And then we're going to talk about your free gift and how they can reach you. So
I
come up
always
with
leave,
another juicy, beautiful one.
okay. I always leave interviews with this to love yourself, practice loving yourself, have grace for yourself. And like another great exercise is just make a list of all the things that you love about yourself, externally, internally. Maybe you're a great mom. Maybe you've graduated from a whatever. Just list all the things you love about and start with, I love this. I love, and all the statements start with, I love, I love, I love. And once you start going, you'll be surprised how much you do love yourself and bring that out into the forefront and keep it here so that you're constantly going, I love this about me, or I love that. Yeah.
You know, this past summer, so we are recording this in early February. It airs in March. This last summer, I had chemo and I went bald, like most people do in chemo. And what I noticed was I could go out. I went out. I only wore a wig a couple times on air when I was meeting with more people than just my clients, when I was giving my talks. And what I noticed is I would go out all the time bald. you know, just within some of my male friends would laugh because towards like 2.5 months in, I'd have a couple of little hairs sticking up and they're like, oh, you look like Yoda. So that could have freaked me out, right? But because I've developed that relationship with myself, I had gratitude, one, for the chemo that I chose, and unfortunately, it about knocked me on my butt permanently. But my point here is even in the depths of growing my hair, from the very beginning, I would tell it how much I love my hair and
Yeah.
how beautiful she is and how I'm so excited to see her. What happened was, this is not my natural head of hair, but it is now. Chemo changed the hair
Right.
follicles. So now I'm curly headed, and it also made me completely white right here. And I said, I'm not ready for that. I need to dye it. So the point is that we need to love ourselves no matter what, right? Whether we're on
Exactly.
death's door or whether we're the queen of the ball, right?
Exactly. No matter what.
And we
Exactly.
find that healing. Like, most people are like, you have the thickest head of hair. I'm like, I know, I can't even find a part anywhere. There's just so much of it. So it's like, it's so much thicker than it was even before.
Because you've loved on it so
I
much.
know. And see, I love that, you know, it's a beautiful experience to choose one thing that bothers you, because you mentioned earlier about falling in love with your body. That's body love. So with this, it's self-love into body love. So we
Yeah.
appreciate ourselves, we give to ourselves. So find that one spark, that one piece of you that bothers you. Could be your butt, your hips, your tummy, your boobs, whatever, and love on that area more, so
Exactly.
that you become familiar and friendly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how can everybody reach you? And at the end of this, everybody, is all the credits, which is our guest, the host, her gifts, how to reach us, all of that.
So they can reach me. My website is trueloveaftertoxiclove.com. And then if they wanted to reach out via email, that's lifeafternarcabuse399@gmail.com.
Okay, wonderful. And you also have a free gift.
I do. It is my Heal Your Heart mini course, Discover How to Find True Love and Be Happier Now. And it's basically a 3-part video series where I share with who's attending to how to stop attracting emotional, unavailable, and toxic men and step out of fear and anxiety. And it goes in 3 parts. So they will get that when they sign up. And it's absolutely.
That's wonderful. You know, what I hear from a lot of people this last year is, I think they, everybody has their own opinion, but I think because you were one of the teachers in the classroom in the self-love revolution, I now hear people saying, I loved hearing from all those teachers because I learned. So if this has any influence on you, like, wow, I'd like to know more about this. It may not be my experience, but I still want to have knowledge. This is an amazing reason to get this gift and to work it and to even talk to Denise, because you're going to find spaces within yourself that are unique that you never thought of before. And that's what I love about these conversations, these gifts, is it allows people to actually witness themselves when they get to do it in a different way that they never even knew. So you do get a lot of connection from the people here. So awesome. Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. It was really wonderful to have you here.